Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Old Time Rock and Roll. I'm your host, David Tare, where I've been featuring my personal top 3,000 songs of the rock era from 1954 to 1999. And today I'm up to song number 2647, and that one is It Keeps You Runnin' by the Doobie Brothers. This came out in 1977, and I believe it went to number 37, just barely made the top 40. Um, but I think it was a really good song. It was featured on their album called Takin' It to the Streets, which came out the previous year, 1976. And my sister and I used to own this album. Good album. And I really liked the Doobie Brothers when I was in high school, even later. They're a good group. Here's a picture of the Doobie Brothers around that time. Um, I think first I'm just going to say a little bit about the song It Keeps You Running. Not a whole lot to say about it. It's kind of a pickup song. I mean, he's basically saying to this woman he's interested in, that I know you're interested in me. You're just kind of not sure of yourself yet. You're not really giving into your feelings, but I know you want me. So just go with it, basically. That's pretty much what he's saying. And kind of typical of a lot of songs of that era, I guess. I never really paid much attention to the lyrics when it was a hit. I just kind of liked the tune. And I liked the Doobie Brothers. I mean, they were a good group. And in case you're interested, Doobie is a slang word for a joint. Yeah, I'm a little surprised they got away with that name, but I guess they did by the 70s. I guess pretty much all rock fans were and rock musicians were smoking dope, and it wasn't a problem for them, even though it was still illegal. Now it's legal in about half the states in America. I'm pretty sure it's going to be legal nationwide in a few years. But anyway, enough of that. But I guess I'm just going to now talk about the Doobie Brothers. So, yeah, like I said, they were a really popular band. They got started in 1970 in San Jose, California, Bay Area band. There were a lot of big Bay Area groups, and that got started in the 60s and 70s. Kind of a mecca for rock and roll, kind of like England, I'd say, by the mid 60s. Um, and the original lineup consisted of Tom Johnston. He was the original lead vocalist as well as lead guitarist, and also Patrick Simmons, who was also a vocalist. And the original bassist was Dave Sjogren, and the original drummer was John Hartman. And then by 1975, they recruited Michael McDonald. He became their lead vocalist, I think, by around 1977, 76 or 77, I think. First big hit. Well, It Keeps You Running was one of the first where that featured him on lead vocals, also Taking It to the Streets. I think this album kind of it was his first that featured Michael McDonald as the lead vocalist instead of Tom Johnston. I actually like Tom Johnston as a lead vocalist better than Michael McDonald, but for whatever reason, Michael McDonald became a lot more famous. He went on and became a pretty famous solo performer by the mid '80s. Anyway, that was the Doobie Brothers, and they were originally around. Their original run was from 1970 1982, and then they broke up for a while, but they got back together in 1987, and they're still together today. So they've been a very successful band, and they're still performing. And now I'm just going to go through their hits. So their first big hit was in 1972. That was called "Listen to the Music." That one went to number 11. Later that year, they had "Jesus Is Just All Right," which went to number 35. In 1973, they had "Long Train Runnin'," which went to number 8. That was the first top 10, I guess. Later that year, they had "China Grove," which went to 15. In 1974, they had "Another Park, Another Sunday," which went to 32. "Eyes of Silver," which went to 52. And "Nobody," which went to 58. In 1975, they had their first number one hit that was called "Black Water." Later that year, they had "Take Me in Your Arms," "Rock Me," which went to 11. "Sweet Maxine," which went to 40. And "I Cheat the Hangman," which went to 60. In 1976, they had "Taken It to the Streets," which went to 13. and Wheels of Fortune, which went to 87, and the one I'm featured today, Keeps You Running, which went to 37. In 1977, they had Little Darling, I Need You, which went to number 48, and Echoes of Love, which went to 66. In 1979, they had their second number one. This is with Michael McDonald on lead vocals. That was called What a Fool Believes. Later that year, they had Minute by Minute, which went to number 10, I think, and Dependent on You, which went to 25. And then in 1980, they had Real Love, which went to number 5. One Step Closer, which went to 24. And Winkin', Blinkin' and Nod, which went to 76. 1981, they had Keep This Train a Rollin', which went to 62. In 1982, they had Here to Love You, which went to 65. 1983, they had a cover of a song originally performed by Carly Simon called You Belong to Me. They had a live version, which went to number 79. In 1989, they had a song called The Doctor, which went to number 9, and Need a Little Taste of Love, which went to 45. So that was their hits. Very, very successful band, and I think really good musicians. I actually saw them live, and the first rock concert I ever went to in my life. It was called A Day at the Green. It was in Candlestick Park in San Francisco in 1977, spring of 1977. My uncle took my sister and me when we were teenagers. I think I was only 14, going on 15. Julie, I think, was 13, my sister. And I loved it. I mean, this was my first rock concert I'd ever been to in my life. It was a huge crowd, about 50,000 fans. There were so many fans that we filled up the whole stadium, and even there were even fans on the field. It wasn't big enough to hold everybody. It was a 6 hour concert. There were, I think, four groups that played. Started with, I think, Steve Gibbons, who nobody'd heard of. Then it had Gary Wright, who had a couple hits, mid 70s. Love is Alive and Dreamweaver. He played those songs. Both of those are coming up on my list, by the way. Really great songs. Then they had the Doobie Brothers, and Doobie Brothers did all their big hits. And since the name was the Doobie Brothers, I guess a lot of the fans were smoking pot. So the whole stadium was filled with pot smoke. My uncle didn't like that because he didn't like pot at all. I think he had it a couple times in college and it didn't sit well with him. I hadn't smoked yet when I was at this concert, and I guess there wasn't enough smoke in the air to get me high, but I do remember the pot smoke. And finally, after the Doobie Brothers, they had Fleetwood Mac. So as you can imagine, it was a really, really great concert, but my uncle hated it. I mean, even though it was the first rock concert my uncle ever took my sister and me to when we were teenagers, all he did was complain about it. I mean, it was like, in all fairness, it was like a huge traffic jam going home. It took us about 2 hours to get home because of all the traffic. I think he didn't really like the music that much. He wasn't crazy about the Doobie Brothers. I think he mostly just didn't like the pot smoke, and it was just too crowded. And I don't think he liked the fans either. He wasn't a big fan of like the late '60s and the mid '70s. He wasn't a fan of all the dope and all the kind of hippie scene, unfortunately. I guess he was more early '60s rock fan. And '50s, some of his favorite artists were Buddy Holly, and he liked some of the early Beatles. I think he even liked some of the late Beatles stuff. He liked Bob Dylan. That was kind of extent of the kind of counterculture music he liked. Most of what he liked was a lot more mainstream, like the Beach Boys. But I love this concert. It was my first rock concert, and I think it was really a treat going, especially seeing the Doobie Brothers. So anyway, just thought I'd share that. I guess that completes my feature for today on It Keeps You Running by the Doobie Brothers. Thank you for watching. Long live rock. Smoke up if you feel like it, but don't become a pothead. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye.